let's talk about children having this conversation with them. I know my mom has reached out to her constantly. She's doing it all the time because she is living alone in Michigan. There's family around up there, but she's trying to get her to be in a place where she could be living with somebody or living closer to people who can actually help, something like that. How should adult children be kind of navigating or approaching their parents with plans to age in place safely?
Well, first of all, like we said, you need to have the conversation sooner than later, because the later you have it, the more difficult it is to get anybody to change. I mean, that's true for all of us. That's not an older person comment. Anytime you want to make a change, that's difficult. And if someone's been living in their house for 80 years, your grandmother must have been like 12 when she bought it. But when you've been living in the house for 80 years, that's going to obviously be more and more difficult. And think of this too, is the older you are, if you've aged in place, your house is probably older too. So it's not like new construction or modern materials or even modern layout or design that you're dealing with. You might be dealing with an old farmhouse style, or who knows. And the revisions or the renovations that need to be made can be more costly or just outright nearly impossible. So you need to have those conversations sooner. I think you need to continue to have them. And here's the key. If you are having the conversation, you will get through over time. You can't wait until there's a crisis. You don't want to be in crisis mode and say, okay, I got to swoop in and change everything. But if you continue to have the conversation, if your mom is just saying, look, it's hard to get up those steps. I can see it when I come up and visit you, or I'm worried about you falling down the steps every week when you're doing the laundry. Having that conversation and just subtly sharing that will get through. And at some point, the person who's aging in place should be able to recognize, you know what, you're right. It is harder to get down the steps. I am having that challenge. So if you have it over time, at some point, you're going to get through. If you're a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You say things to your kids, not once, but you got to say it to a few more times to really get it through sometimes. Same thing with a person who's aging in place. Then if they're open to it, now you've set the seed. Look, we've been talking about what are we going to do? If we stay in this house, is there a way for us to bring the washer and dryer up on the one floor? And is there a way for, maybe we can't redo the whole bathroom or put a bathroom on the first floor, but maybe there's a way to build a powder room on the first floor. And then you want to also have the conversation about the cost and what that does to ultimately to the value of the home, and what's the good, bad, right, and wrong of that. But then you start to have the conversation of this is what we could do. And I think what happens is two things. You make those adjustments, or that sounds pretty invasive. I mean, could you imagine if you swooped into your grandmom's house and built a bathroom on the first floor and hooked up a washer and dryer and did all of those things? It might kind of be, hey, you know what? I see what you're saying. This is a little bit too much. This is invasive. Maybe it's easier for me to think about making a move. And that's really only going to happen if you have the conversation and set it up, or you're going to wait till it's a crisis mode. And that's going to be really when things are very difficult to make those adjustments.